The first thing we want to do is create a background for our gamification e-learning or interaction. What we're going to do is not hand create the background ourselves. We're going to go to freepik.com. We're going to search for pixel game background. And then we're going to look for a background that looks similar to what we have, and we already found one here. You're going to download it. Okay, we are going to unzip it. Let's rename it. If you have Illustrator, you will open it up in Illustrator, but for this tutorial, we'll assume that you don't have Adobe Illustrator because we can't just drop in this file into Storyline, because if you try to do that, it won't let you. So we're going to go to a site called Popup.com. Here, this is an online vector editor, which allows you to edit Photoshop files, vector files, and even PDFs and all of these down here. So we're going to drag that EPS file into Popup, and we have this. Okay, if you go here to the layers, you can see that it has all of these objects. You see how they're separated into folders. These are the individual clouds. These are the sections. And this is good enough. We don't need to remove anything. We're just going to keep it as this, as is. So let's export it. Export as a JPEG. Okay. The width and the height, technically, this is not the exact dimensions. The dimensions that we have in Storyline is going to be more of a traditional widescreen setup, 1280 by 720. We're just going to resize it once we export it. So let's just leave it as this. If you want to make it a little bigger, maybe you can do 1500. And then it'll auto adjust. Because it's a vector file, you're not going to lose the quality. It's going to save probably into your downloads folder. Let's cut it, save it. Let's put it into our assets, game background, and let's go to Storyline. Drop it in. Then let's increase the size a little bit. Crop it. Why do we crop it? Just so that we have the proper screen dimensions. And there we go. We have our background. Next, let's have our character here. We'll deal with all of these triggers later, but let's have this character. Where are we going to go for that? We're going to go to freepik.com and let's type in pixel character. We are going to pick, let's use this. Let's use this one. Okay, we're going to download it. Download the zip file. You're going to unzip the zip file. You can use the EPS or you can use the AI file. It doesn't matter. Let's call that construction man. And then go back to Popup. We're going to go to file. Instead of dropping it in, we're going to go to open. File, open. Open the construction man. And now this is what we need to do to only pick the one we want. This person here. Okay. The way we do that, let's get rid of auto select so that we don't have all of these showing. First, we get rid of the background. Click on the background layer, type delete, or click delete. You know, and let's use these, the hide and unhide, or hide and show, to delete the ones we don't want. We only want the person here, this person. So let's figure out which one it is. It's this one here. So everything else is going to be deleted. Okay. We don't even, oh, we don't need this text. I don't even know where that text is. Oh, it's up there. Transform controls. Yeah, we don't need that. Okay. This is the only one we want. And then we can hold shift and scale it up if we want. Let's do that. Okay. Hit enter. And we want to make sure that's the only one we have. Okay. We're going to export as a PNG. 800 by 800. That's big enough. Save it. Go to your download folder. Go to asset. Find the file. Paste it. And then go back to storyline. Find your file and import it in. I'm going fast because you should be able to navigate around your computer and browsing folders. All right, here we go. All right, now we have our character. One thing that I just noticed, this character has a lot of other, we probably only want the character to have bounding boxes here, so let's re-export. The way we do that, go to crop, hit the little, this is called a crop tool. I'm more familiar with using Illustrator than this app here, but it's almost the same. Okay, hit enter. There we go. There we go. All right, let's export again. Okay, let's delete that person and then go back to downloads. Find your construction man. Let's replace it. There we go. We dropped it in. And there we go. Now we have a background. We have our character. Let's go to our original. Now we just need these little blocks, and eventually we need the text. Go back to Freepik. Click on the search option. Let's click pixel box. Let me see if that works. Nope. Pixel game. And let's look for a box. Okay, here we go. We have a box anywhere? Oh, here we go. This is like Super Mario. We only want to keep that. Let's download it. Open the zip file. Move your vector file over to your assets folder. Let's call this block. All right. This is a vector file. You can't just import it in. We need to go to photop.com. Open the block EPS. Now we need to get rid of everything except for this question mark block. Okay, go to your layers. See all these groups? Let's hide everything except for that one. We don't need anything except for that. And even from here, we don't need the little brick. Oh, there it is. This is the brick folder. All right, now we want to crop this. Go to crop. Let's crop it. There we go. Delete crop pixels. Crop. Now, let's save. I'm thinking this file is relatively small. Here, see the width and the height. Let's make it a little bigger. Let's make it maybe like 300. Save it. It's going to be in your downloads folder. Okay. block. Now in Illustrator, there are options to make sure that this block doesn't have any blank transparency parts, but it's not a big issue. So go to storyline, find your block, drop it in, and there we go. We got our block. Let's have, let's just make it 3. Let's make them smaller. Okay. Block, let's make them bigger. There we go. Block. Let's duplicate it. Okay. Control C, Control V. Or you can hold C, click and drag. You know what? We probably should get rid of that cloud because it's in the way. For now, it's okay. All right, to distribute these layers equally, you go to Arrange and Align in the Format tab and click Distribute Horizontally. There you go. Okay, we have our character, we have our blocks, and then we just need our text. Okay, for the text here, this one actually has to be done in Illustrator. I tried using Popup, and I don't think the text is editable. So unfortunately for this text, we can't really mimic that in Popup. Because if you open Illustrator here, I don't have the text, so it doesn't look proper. But see how if I can put the text here, it should be able to work. See? It won't work for Popup. So for the text, we're just gonna have to use, just regular text box. Let's call it Gamification Sample. But what we can do is change the text to be, try Bebes. There we go. Let's do that. Let's make it bigger. Let's change it to maybe like this color. The drop shadow. No, the drop shadow didn't work. Maybe this color. Oh man. Okay. Let's change that fill to black. All right, here we go. So what we can do is just create a text and then duplicate it, make that text black, and then just kind of move it a little bit to the bottom. There we go, like that. Okay, there we go. Now we have maybe if we change the color a little bit, let's call it maybe this color. There we go. Yeah, that's fine. And then maybe let's create a rectangle behind it. Create the format or get the format shape. Let's move the line. Let's make it maybe a dark. There we go. Look at that. Okay. If you have Illustrator, you would be able to do exactly what we did here by editing the text in Illustrator and exporting it out. But unfortunately, Popup, which is a free vector editing software, doesn't have it. So this is a workaround. I think this actually looks good. Okay, so we have our title, we have our blocks, and we have our character. Only thing we need now is start creating the triggers. Now what we want to do is create our motion paths so that when you press the right arrow or the left arrow or the jump button or the space bar, it moves. Right now it doesn't move. I can move it right now, but it's not going to move when I preview. We want to add the motion paths. The way you do that is you click on your character and go to animations, and we want to create a motion path going a straight line. We want it to go right. We need one to go right. We need one to go left. And we only want it to go maybe 10 pixels. The duration will be less than a second. It's going to be 0.1 tenth of a second. It's not going to move when the timeline starts. We're going to have to change that. We're going to move picture 2. We'll rename it later. When the user presses a key, and it will be the right arrow on this slide. All right, now let's call this right path. That way we have a bit more, a better description of what it's doing. Now if we preview, if we click on the right arrow, it should move the character to the right. Yep. And something happened. If you want to guess what it is, it is the path options here. We want to have it as a relative start point, which means that we don't want any easing, which means that as soon as you hit the right arrow, it's not going to reset to that exact position. It's going to go 10 pixels from where you ended. So if I click the right arrow now, it's going all the way to the right. And then the left arrow obviously is not going to work because we didn't configure it yet. Now, we also want to create a motion path going left. Same thing. We want to go 10 pixels. Duration will be 0.10. And then we want to, let's rename this. Path left. Path left, not when the timeline starts. We're going to go when user clicks the left arrow on this slide. Let's preview. If I go right, it's going to go right. If I go left, I think something's going to happen. Yep. Notice what it did. It teleported. We know exactly why it did that. If you go to the options, we know that we forgot to put the relative start point. And then let's get rid of the easing. If you preview again, it's going to work. Here we go. Look at that. See? Now it worked. Now, you know what? Let's make it smaller. 93, 100. 93, 100. 93. Okay, here we go. Format it to the center. Okay. We have our character moving to the right and to the left. Now we just need to configure him to jump when we hit the space bar. Clicking on this character, let's go to animation. Let's go add motion path, go to lines. Nope, this one is going down. We want it to go up. And let's see. We want him to go maybe half of that. Let's check it out. Let's see. A little bit less. Let's do 90. There we go. Or maybe 93. Okay, so we have our motion path going up 0.10th of a second. Duration, or for the length, we measured it to be 93 pixels. We'll call this line up or path up. Double click on that trigger. Not when timeline starts, but when user presses a key. Let's call it the space button on this slide. For this one, we do not want the relative start point. Why? Because we don't want the character to keep jumping higher and higher. Let's test it out. All right, here we go. It goes left, right, left and right. Oh, and you know what? No, we do want the relative start point. There's a glitch. We want it to be relative start point, meaning it's going to jump wherever the character is. But it's not going to work right now because we don't have any animation going back down. So it's doing that, and it's just going higher and higher and higher. We're missing an animation going down. So we're going to add an animation going down. And let's make it the same distance. What was the distance for the top one? 93. Let's make this distance 93. Call this path down. And then let's make sure that we trigger it properly. Path down. Okay, this is going to be a little different. We want it to go path down, not when we press a key. We want it to go automatically down when the animation of this character jumps up. So we're gonna say when the animation completes. Okay, so we have animation completes for completes. Okay. On the up path. So we want the animation to go down when the animation of the up path finishes. Okay, so let's check it out. Oh, whoa, what happened? Okay. If we had to guess what happened, it is because the down arrow or the down path is also needed to be a relative start point. And let's get rid of the ease and ease out. All right, let's check it out. There we go. Got it. See that? It's pretty neat that we were able to do this in storyline. The next thing we want to do is when the character moves and jumps, we want the block to turn gray, and we want a new layer to show up. This is where the interaction takes place. So first, let's create a layer. We'll call that block 1. And then let's just leave block 1 for now, and we won't do the other ones. And we need to create a trigger. So we're going to click on the block, and we'll create a trigger where the action is to show layer block 1 when user, no, not when user clicks, when the animation or the object enters or the object intersects picture 2. So we want to show when the object intersects with picture 3, which is the block. Okay, and to test to see if it works, let's go to block 1. Let's create a opaque, like a Lightbox format. Let's make it black with the transparency. Okay, here we go. Let's do that. So what we're hoping to do is when we click the spacebar and it jumps and hits the block, we want the layer to show up. Oh, there it is. But we want the layer to, let's create an animation. Let's have it insert or fly in from the top. Okay. Let's check again. There we go. Of course, we want more than that. We want it to show and have some type of content showing up, and we'll get to that. Before we start populating this layer, let's make sure that we finish block 1. For the block 1, let's make the state of this block gray when we click on it, or when we hit the block. So we're going to go to edit states. Let's duplicate this. We'll call it maybe visited. Go to format. Let's change it to gray to show that we've hit it. And we can create a trigger for that. So create a trigger. We want to change the state of picture 3, I should have labeled it with better names, to visited when object intersects with, when picture 2 intersects, or picture 3 intersects with picture 2. And then let's try that out. There we go. It turned gray. Great. Now we want to populate the Lightbox area. So when they click on that box, we want something to show up here, and then we want to X to show that it's closing. So let's go to freepik.com, or go to website. Maybe let's search for Popup. I don't remember what I searched for before. Here I'm going to speed up the video. A lot of the time was spent trying to figure out which pop-up message to use. And that will be the case with you as well. You will spend time trying to figure out which designs to implement. And it will mean a lot of clicking through the pages. Okay, I was having a hard time finding a pop-up message. When I searched for game UI, I got a good one, which is this one here. I think we can utilize this message box as our pop-up layer. So we're going to download it. We're going to open the zip file, and we're going to put it into our folder. We're going to put it into our folder. We'll name it Popup. Then we're going to go back to Photopea and open the file. And we have our assets. We are going to delete everything except for this message box. Maybe we'll keep one for maybe like an exit button. For now, let's get rid of all the other things that we don't need. For example, we don't need the base layer. We don't need all of these. There we go. That's the one we want. And then we can, let's make it bigger. We don't necessarily need to make it bigger because we could always resize it since it's a vector file and not lose the resolution. And then we want to crop, you know, the outside, the transparent part. So go to your crop tool and let's crop all that out. There we go. Hit enter. And then let's go to export as PNG. Let's make it a lot bigger. Let's do maybe 700. There we go. And it shouldn't, you should not be losing resolution here. I'm not sure why it looks like it's, let me try 1200, no, maybe 1000. Yeah, the resolution should not be blurry. Let's double check. Okay, again, I am more used to editing files in Illustrator, but this is a free program and it looks blurry. So what we're gonna do is let's make this bigger. Okay, and let's scale it up so that we don't lose the resolution. Okay, export as PNG, save. Download section, it's the Popup 1. Let's put it into our assets folder. Here we go. Let's go to assets. There we go. Resolution looks better. All right, now we have our pop-up layer. And this is where your text will appear. We can put our text here. Yeah. This is our text layer, and this is where your text is gonna go. It could, depending on what topic your course is going to be, it will have that topic. And right now it's, let's try white. Okay, I think white is better. And then if it still has a dark contrast, we can put a layer behind it, make it a little darker. Maybe put an opacity on it. There you go. Oh, let's get rid of the outline. No outline. Okay, there we go. That looks pretty good. And then we want a close box. We can make this a little bigger. You know what? We need a title. Okay, here we go. Now, earlier we had other buttons and stuff that we got rid of or we hid. Let's save this file as something else. It should have not been a PSD. I don't know why it's showing up as PSD. Let's save it as the reason why I guess the resolution, there was a loss in resolution, is because it's opening it up as a PSD file, which is a Photoshop file. Let's or you know what, let's save it. Save it as a PSD for now. Okay, now let's reopen the pop-up file that we downloaded earlier, basically the same one that we're seeing here, but with all the other elements. Let's go to pop-up. Here we go. Go back to layer, and let's use this button here. I don't know which button that is. The group first. It's that one. So we want to hide everything else. There we go. Move it here. Let's make it bigger. Hold shift. Let's crop it. Push enter. There we go. This will be our button. Let's go to export as PNG. And then it's going to be, I call that button. Bring it into our assets folder. All right, and then we're going to go back to storyline and we're going to drag over the button. Here we go. This would be, and then let's create a text for this one. Let's call it continue. Oh, what is that? Oh, continue. Maybe make it smaller. Let's add bold. And then we're going to group that. Let's group it. Let's lock this layer here. Let's group it. Group. And then here we could put trigger for hide this layer. This layer when user clicks group one. Let's have all of these and let's group it. Let's group the whole thing and then let's animate it down. Where's down? There it is. All right, let's preview. Okay, moving. Great. See that? Now we have, maybe we could make it a little smaller. But you have your layer, and then when you click continue, the block is turned gray, and you completed your first interaction. The rest of them is not going to work because we didn't configure it, but we will configure those right now. Now that we have our first layer showing and working, we want to make sure that we have the other two layers. To do that, you want to, let's duplicate these layers. We'll call it, second we'll call it block 2. Third one we'll call it block 3. But none of them are synced or connected with these blocks. So we need to create a trigger. So on this block here, let's create a trigger where it shows layer block 2 when user or object intersects with that, with the character here. Now let's do the same thing for block 3. We want it to show layer block 3 when object intersects picture 5 with picture 2. Let's call this subtopic 2 so we know which one's which. Let's call this subtopic 3. And let's preview. All right, we have our character. Layer shows up. Continue. Layer shows up. All right, notice how the gray, the block is not gray because we didn't put the visited states. We'll fix that. Let's go block 3. And it shows subtopic 3. And the interaction works. We have the states. What we can do here, since these are all identical, except this one has the states, you can click on Format Painter and paste it. And now all the visited states are there. If we preview again, subtopic 1, subtopic 2. Oh yeah, that's right. Let's go back. We also want to make sure that the state is turned to visited. Remember on the first block we have change state to visited when it interacts. We also want to do that to this one. We want to change the state. Block 2, where is it? This one to visited when the object intersects with the man. Same thing here. We want to change the state of picture 5 to visited when object intersects with this man or this person. Let's preview. Great. Topic 2. Topic 3. And we got an interaction completed. Some things that we can add. Let's create an entrance for this one. Let's have them animate in. Maybe we'll have them bounce in from... I wonder if you could bounce it in. Oh, I thought you could have them bounce from the left to right, but let's just leave it as that. We can have this section... Let's group that, Control G, and have that fly in from the top. Let's preview. There we go. I would say the things that we can improve on is adding some sounds. What we can do is go to maybe free game sounds. Now, if you are an instructional designer and you are already making money creating e-learning courses, I highly recommend Storyblocks, their annual plan, because you could download all kinds of videos, all kinds of audio, music, sound effects. Highly recommended. Let's go to 8-bit. Tracks. Free. Alright, oh, that's kind of... No. I wouldn't say this is... Alright, there we go. I like this one. Let's download this. You would want to attribute if you're going to use this. Okay, so we got our sound. Let's go back to storyline. Let's import our sound. Where is it? Game assets. All right. Let's create a trigger. You know what? Let's just leave it as that. We don't need to create a trigger. Let's lower the volume a little bit to maybe half. Save. Okay. And then let's preview. All right, cool. Now let's create a sound for the jump effect. Let's go back to free jump sound effect. Sound Bible. They had some. This site has a few good sounds. All right, here we go. Let's download this one. Again, all of these sites you're gonna need to attribute. So how do you download this? Here we go. Download. And simplest way to attribute is just at the end of your module, you can put, sound effects by all soundtracks and sound effects by soundbible.com, or you can individually, cite it. So here we go. Let's do this. We need to create a trigger. We're going to put play media. User presses a key. Remember the jump button was a space bar on this slide. And then the play media is going to be, all right, here we go. Preview. Ooh, what was that beginning sound? I don't think we needed, that's this one. Preview one more time. There we go. Perfect. All right, we have this interaction completed. Now we just need to create a final congratulations slide or a conclusion slide. Before we do that, let's go to the player, and because this is more like a game, we don't need the menu titles on the left. Let's just go to the menu controls, turn everything off. Let's preview that one more time. All right, great, look. Cool. Okay, now we want something where it says, great job once they completed all of this. Let's create a new layer. We'll call it conclusion. And let's have, something that says great job. So let's use this text here. Let's go to conclusion. Instead of this, let's call it great job. All right. Now, there's the back text. No, we need great job here. Okay. All right. Let's reduce this rectangle here. Great job. Let's bring them down a little bit. Why is it doing that? Oh well. Bring them down. Great job. And let's have the conclusion slide. Create an interaction. Change the state of text box. We're going to have to do it for all of them. To hidden. When the state of these boxes are visited. And then we got to do that for the other two elements here. Remember, there's two text boxes and the rectangle. Let's duplicate those triggers. And instead of text box 1, let's call it text box 2. And then instead of text box 1, let's have the rectangle. That one here. And then let's have the layer, the conclusion layer, show up when the state of when this is a tricky one because we don't want it to appear when all of them is gray because the third block is still there. State of these are visited, and I'm going to show you why that's not going to work. Let's check it out. Okay, that works. See how, the great job appeared, but we needed the third layer to show up as well. So we needed to create a variable. On my example, I created just another slide, but creating it on this slide is probably better. So what we can do is let's go to these layers. Let's add a variable. Adjust variable. Just call it, maybe, let's call it block. And, you know, block 1. Let's call it block. No, is there adjust variable, new variable, block. Block true or false. When user clicks, rectangle. When user clicks, what's a group 1. Okay, now we need to create a new block for block 2, or a new variable for block 2. Just variable, we'll call it block 2, true or false. Okay, let's create a new, when user clicks group 1, let's create a new variable here. Call it block 3. Okay. Oops. I guess block, what happened to block 3? Block 3. All right. So we have 3 variables, block 1, block 2, block 3. Now we need a variable that says show layer conclusion when variable completes. Variable changes block. Conditions. If block 1 is equal to true, if block 2 is equal to true, and block 3 is equal to true. All right, let's test that out. Oh no. Okay, let's change this. Let's delete that. Let's put that here. Let's put show layer conclusion when user clicks group 1 if block 1 is true, block 2 is true, and block 3 is true. Let's copy that. Group 1. Paste it. I'm just copying the trigger that we just created. Oops, that should be false. Or true. That should be true. That should be true. Oh, there we go. That's what happened. We had the show layer conclusion when all the states are visited. That should not be there. And I think the last trigger that we created that didn't work might have worked if we deleted that trigger. Let's try this again. All right, there we go. All right, there we go. Great job. We are pretty much done. What we want to do now is we want to create a instructions text box. There we go. So you could do something like this. Use the left and right arrow keys to move and spacebar to jump. You can add more descriptions here. It's always good to provide instructions on what the learner should be doing. And this is just the bare bones. Preview. There we go. Use the left and right arrows. Now the learner knows what to do. And then They go through the final interaction. It says great job. And you can change this to have a different text. You can say, you know, click next to continue, or we can have a continue button. You know what? Let's create a continue button here. Oops. Let's just, in the continue button, let's create a continue button here. That will lead to a brand new set of slides if this is going to be embedded into your e-learning module, or if this is going to be part of your e-learning and you have additional slides, then this will lead to something else. That's it. We just created a gamification e-learning. Hopefully you can try this out. If you have any questions, ask away on the comments.